What's up, everybody? Doug Lane here, Fastlane Car Care. We got the 2018 Honda Civic. I believe it's 2016 to 20. This style with the wing, spoiler, whatever that goes across the back. As you can see, we got the wing out. We got that out. I think I've done a video on this before. I started shrinking, and I was like, man, you know what? We should record this. We're going to do it in one piece. The plotter babies. I know that you guys have a little printout. You can do one piece, 2 piece, 3 piece, and line them up on the defrosters. However, they usually fail there. So the interesting thing, this is actually a strip and retint, and I'll show you what we pulled off here in a minute. I got excited. I thought it was just going to be the back doors and this bottom piece, because this was clear, the front doors were clear. But turns out upon a little closer inspection, they were just faded to clear. So obviously we're going to get my boy set up right. This customer's brought me a few cars over the years. It's always nice when you have people that trust you. Some people get really intimidated about taking these cars apart, and for me it's really not a big deal. I'm pretty mechanically inclined. I have a lot of tools, and I know how to use them. We're using a 20% carbon film here. Helios from Sun Distributing Direct. I know somebody's going to go ahead and comment below and ask me what it is. If this was a dyed film, it would shrink faster. Carbon film blocks a little bit more heat. It actually blocks a lot more heat. So it takes a little bit more time to shrink, but it's still no big deal. The top's obviously not the difficult part. It's the bottom you got to worry about. So we're just going to take our time, get this old girl shrank. Be careful you don't put too much heat in one spot, burn the film, or worse, you know, cook this little spoiler thing. So just go nice and slow. We should be really close to our line. Just going to go ahead and just shrink past it. All right, we'll revisit that if we need to. Here's the tricky part. Now, a lot of times, you guys have seen me shrink, and I'll cut this off so the film's on the glass, because the film sitting up here on this paint can kind of mess you up. But in this case, we're going to use that to our advantage. And I don't H-pattern anything. I just leave the sides alone. Like, I just let them float. I just do a line across the middle. And that's why you'll see me kind of like do this deal, or kind of help push it and distribute the fingers. Just gonna kind of go ahead and shrink down towards the bottom. Just kind of try to keep everything flowing, because like I said, you can see it wants to go like that. See if I can adjust you a little bit. You gotta be kind of careful. The same thing, like right here, it'll try to shrink sideways on you. So, this is your first one. Don't be afraid to slow down. Take your time. It's not a race. I promise you, you'll spend more time trying to do it the second time than if you just slow down and do it right the first time. Okay, so same kind of deal. Push everything over here. And so now we can pull shrink with this extra if we want. I'm not the pull shrinking expert. I really don't care to pull shrink, but it's one of those things, you should learn it. At least well enough to get by, because there will be applications where it will make your life easier. Now see, I never really thought these were too bad, because you've got this big black border out here, you've got this border, and then you've got this thick part, so you're really only dealing with about 5 inches high, and I'm being generous. And you know, I don't know what you say, like 9 or 10 inches wide. So we got a little bit of a pinch. So we're just gonna put some air underneath it, like this. I don't know if you can see that. We'll just shrink it nice and slow. Which that was gonna be underneath the border anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But see, if you mess up any of this film over, I don't know if you can see, but your line's right here. So if you mess up anything over here, it's fine, it doesn't matter. Same kind of deal on the other side. But what you run into with these is you're gonna run out of room for your film to shrink, because you can only shrink so much, and that's where the pull shrinking really comes into handy. You're just kind of lifting it up off the glass, using the heat. And I like to shrink below where I'm gonna go, if that makes any sense. Because here it doesn't matter, I can burn a hole in it. It doesn't matter. Up here is where I need to be cautious. What happens if you try to just shrink, you end up where there's no more shrink and your film creases. So if I can shrink this all up, whoop, that's gonna help me out up top. I'm probably doing a terrible job at explaining this, but like I said, just take your time. Don't work yourself into a corner. If you start to get a little bit of a pinch, just let it back up. The biggest thing with these, in my opinion, is just making sure you don't overheat your film, trying to just go gung-ho, you know, trying to shrink it all in one go. Obviously, if you're experienced, you can. But, you know, I have a feeling if you're watching this video, you're probably struggling with it. Or you're newer to shrinking in general. And this is just one of those cars that, you know, there's no shame. Kind of like the Golfs and Jettas and stuff. There's no shame in just going slow and doing it right the first time. So we can do the full shrink deal again. Again, we can shrink all this up down here, don't matter. Okay, now you can feel it. Like, it's pretty hot. So, I'm just gonna kind of take it easy. And it's getting pretty warm, so I want to let this side cool. Go ahead, jump over here on this side. I'm pretty confident I can make it happen, but like I just, you know, got done explaining why. You know what I mean? Why chance it? I'm not the world's expert on these windows. I only do like 1 or 2 of these a year, which is why I don't have the factory glass. So then I could just avoid having to take this all apart. Must be a helicopter flying outside, because it sounds like they're there's somebody out in the drive, but there's not. So I think there's a helicopter flying around. We are pretty close to the airport, so not uncommon at all. All right, just to prove our point, we'll just go ahead, cut this way below where we need to. We got a little bit of tension right there, doesn't matter. We got this little bit here, again, 3 inches away. Now, if you really want to, you can lift this up a little bit. The thing you want to avoid is putting too much tension in the film. Then it's going to want to curl off the glass when you go to install. All I'm looking to do right here is when I lifted it up, I just want to shrink this bottom inch or two. That's golden. All right, so now let's repeat over here. Had just a little pinch point right there, no big deal. You just saw I just let a little air underneath it. Shrank it again, boom, gone. I like to be very careful. It's like I said, man, you get down to this last little bit. Really sucks if you crease the film or melt it or whatever in your workspace and you only had, 2 millimeters to go. So there you go. We're out of our workspace again. Let's just verify. Just go ahead and cut this bottom chunk off. I did show the customer earlier, probably won't be able to see it through the tint, but right around in here there's a big old scratch. Pointed that out while I was cleaning the glass. This guy, I'm sure, wouldn't blame me for it, but it's always nice when you see stuff like that to go ahead and document it, just in case. So again, we're gonna put a little bit of tension. We got a little bit of air underneath here. Okay, there's a couple little pinch points right there I don't like. So go ahead and lift them up. Gone. Hold that thought. All right, don't know if you can tell. I got a Sharpie line drawn out here. It goes up underneath the wing, spoiler, whatever you want to call it. So the cool thing about having this all stripped down, we have literally tons of room. So I don't have to cut out this little tab or whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to go straight down with it. I'm also really not limited to how much space I have on the bottom, so I'm going to be pretty generous. Same deal with this tab. So just follow straight up here. I'll get kind of close to there, but where'd our line go? Oh, we're getting a little crazy with it. That's okay. And down around the bottom. You might say, well, man, what, you know, how are you going to cut up here underneath this wing? Well, I'm just going to get where I can. I don't know if you guys can hopefully see that. Follow our line. Boom. And we didn't cut through crap. That's okay. I'd rather use less blade pressure and make sure that I don't damage anything, but I guess we were way too late. So we'll just follow our line. Now, with it being scored, you could, if you wanted to be, you know, risky, you could just pull it, but not my style. Sometimes it comes off like that. Other times it's going to ruin your stuff. So I spent a lot of time getting to this point. I really don't want to throw it in the trash now, you know. So you can also use this little technique. Get your blade in there and just let it do its thing. That's also kind of a risk too, so we're just gonna, for now, you see we scored our release liner. Go ahead. Very, very carefully remove all this. Always pull away from your workspace so that if it does hit a point where it tears, it's not a big deal. Here's your back window. Faded completely, almost completely clear, other than at the bottom where the spoiler protected it. So, yeah. Fronts were super faded. Back were obviously also super faded. So, what are you gonna do now? Well, first of all, we're gonna trim this little bit of junk off there. That's fine. So, how are you gonna do the top? Well, you've probably already used your imagination. If you had a peel board, it'd be a great time to use it. I don't have one yet. Let's say that. Don't have one yet. Just give her a little mist. Okay. I like to just kind of, just seems to help it cut a little easier. You see we got a couple little fingers up there. Not really a big deal. We could go ahead and shrink this again, but if they show up on the inside, we can just heat them up. When we open the hatch, they're going to be on the bottom, so we don't really have to worry about them sucking up anything. And you can probably tell I'm going, you know, pretty generous, because it's kind of a pain in the butt to get up in there and do all that and, you know, be accurate with it. So let's see where our where our pre-cut was. Now, if you had the hatch trim installed, like let's say you had the factory glass, it'd be super easy to do these windows, but I don't have it, you know what I mean? So it is what it is. If I did more than 1 or 2 a year, I'd probably get one, but we don't, so it is what it is. Now, go ahead and just kind of smooth this out. Give it a little more moisture. So we're gonna go ahead and prep the inside. Again, if we had a peel board, it'd be a phenomenal time to use it. But look how much space we have. I mean, across the top, across the sides, we gotta watch out for the defroster tabs, but that's still, you know, a pretty good bit. We got plenty of room around here. We're gonna scrub it super good. The tint did come off clean, but never hurts to really give it a good scrub. I'm gonna do that off camera. A lot of people ask why I don't do the full-length videos anymore. I just don't have time, and it's not that it slows you down to record it. The GoPros don't stay alive long enough. They tend to overheat, or at least mine do. They tend to overheat and shut off in about an hour, so then you got to figure out where you left off and all that good stuff. I think I have one more can of glass cleaner laying around here somewhere. Yeah. Maybe this is it. Maybe I threw the other one away yesterday. I don't know. These really aren't difficult to take apart, so don't be intimidated by it. It's just a bunch of screws and tail lights and some plastic covers and, you know, a couple bolts and a couple tabs and, you know, got a little hair right there. Yeah. So just steel wool pad that's going to get any junk off the defrosters. You can see them shining up real nice. Look how shiny that is versus like over here where it's nice and dull. This is one way you can tell that the other shop does crappy work, in my opinion. These weren't scrubbed with anything near abrasive, or else they wouldn't be corroded, because, you know, it'd be locked in. The film would lock everything out. So, all right, gotta jump off of here. All right, guys, so what we got going on here, we got both our hoses. We got our keg ready to go here. We already scrubbed this. I'd take a little break, a little lunch break, you know. I get something to eat. So now we're just gonna do our little squeegee deal here. And this is just gonna get any dirt, debris, dust, whatever that may have ran into this. You can see the tint's not on the hatch anymore. What did I do with it? Well, I'm gonna show you here in a second. If you have a peel board, you know, great time to use it, obviously. But I don't, so, you know, we don't have that option. So, hatchback gets a little bit, I don't know if you want to say complicated, but it's a little bit different than doing a like a traditional sedan or whatever, but the concept's basically the same. I'm just squeegeeing it off to the side, and then I use my hand to wipe my edge off. Any little dirt or anything like that's not gonna stick here. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll get this bit knocked down, and then when I get here, I'll just go all the way side to side. Just depends. So now, I'm not afraid to spray right here in the middle to here, but what I don't want to do is spray up here. I don't know if you guys can see it. I don't want to spray up here because I don't want any of the junk down there to come out into my workspace. Real light mist. Take my other hose. You can see I got it laid out here. Now, if this was like a brand new car or something that's, you know, really nice, you know, you may not want to do this. It's not going to hurt anything. But this car has swirls and scratches and stuff all over it. It's kind of just a temporary ride for this gentleman, so I have no problem doing this. You could reverse roll it if you wanted. Same kind of deal. I'm not putting a ton of moisture up here because I don't want stuff, even though I've already squeegeed the top edge, I don't want stuff getting down into my workspace. So we're just misting it. Now, if you guys have watched me before, you'll know that I generally prefer to do a reverse roll, but on hatchbacks I don't. I usually just peel them just like I just did. Get them set on the glass gently, you know. Try to make sure you don't touch anything except for the glass. We can kind of gently roll this and see, okay, we need to go over that way. Get that in there. I'll make sure. Okay, got that. That's good. We're needing to come over that way. Plenty of room, except for right there. Okay. All right. Now, I don't worry a whole lot about making sure every little last detail is perfect, because you and I are the only people that are going to see this. Once we put the hatch trim back together, it's going to block most of this. So I like to just kind of start in the middle, kind of get things going, and push my way out. Two things to note: I don't want to mess with this quite yet, because I don't want moisture to go halfway out and then come back in. And then I want to go over to right about the edge. See how this moisture's running down? We haven't pushed anything yet. Like with the squeegee, we haven't pushed down on it. So that is actually allowing any contamination. I shouldn't say any, but it's giving us a better chance to flush any kind of contamination that might be on the edges out. That water is gonna pull it out with it. You can laugh at me, make fun of me all you want. I saw Rodney McClure do it on an old school car, and it came out clean. So I started doing it on the old school stuff as well as the new stuff, and I do it every time now. So now we got that out of the way. What I want to do is I just want to mop up any kind of moisture, so just in case it doesn't try to suck stuff in, is basically what I'm getting at. That's a big trouble area for where you're going to get contamination, is creating those little fingers like that and then allowing them to suck back in. So again, same deal. Go ahead and mop up any of this extra moisture, and you can see we just hit that with the pink clean. You know, not using a crazy amount of pressure. So now we're gonna lock it down because everything's where we want, everything's looking good. Hit her with the quick mist, and I want to use the old dehydra. I think it's a dehydra, and it just really puts out some moisture, man. It really gets rid of it. Run it along the defroster lines. I see some people go against the defrosters. I don't know, I just think that's the bad move. I mean, of course, in a traditional coupe or sedan, you know, you kind of have to get the bottom. You know, usually there's 2 or 3 defrosters you're gonna have to go against. I mean, that's, you know, just is what it is. But we have the opportunity to go along the defrosters, so that's what I like to do here. For people that are looking into, you know, doing this as a business or whatever, on these cars I charge extra, generally about $50, just to remove this hatch and all this stuff. It doesn't take a long time once you know what you're doing, but it does take extra time. So if these are really popular in your area, you should definitely just go ahead and get the back glass. You can charge a little bit extra for those to recoup your losses if you want. Personally, I've heard guys say they're like $200, $200 to $300 seems to be like the going deal. I mean, if you can get them that cheap, I wouldn't really worry about it. But like I said, I think I've said earlier, like I only do a couple of these a year, so I don't really have the space to just set a back glass without it having a pretty good chance of getting destroyed. So there you go, man. That's how you tint these. I like to leave these up in this position while I do the rest of the car, and then I put everything back together last. That's just so that when I shut this hatch, we don't have anything trying to run back in this area. It gives it plenty of time to drain out, tack up. Yeah, because here in about 20-30 minutes, it's going to be tacked up enough that if we notice a bubble or something, we're not going to be able to push it out without having a really good chance of having like a glue trail. So you can see the outside of the glass looks nasty. Just is what it is for now. So there you guys have it. I might bring you along to put this mess back together. We'll see. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.